Hey guys, I'm Brad of Brave the Woods. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to do something really fun, and it won't require any illustrating. We're going to be creating a stunning outer space scene for a desktop wallpaper using only photos from Unsplash. So let's jump into it. I'm really into space, hence the common theme in my decor, or some of the projects that I take on, like this little glow-in-the-dark space puzzle, or this book that I illustrated called Oh No Astro. Space is kind of my jams. Okay, so the other day I was looking for some texture inspiration, and one of my go-to sources is Unsplash. And that's because I love high-resolution photography as my texture sources, because I can manipulate them in Photoshop and get exactly what I want, and usually come up with a whole bunch of other textures that I never even thought of. But if you're unfamiliar with Unsplash, it's a site full of free, beautiful, high-resolution photos by a community of photographers. And yes, it is free, and you can use them commercially, non-commercially. You don't even have to credit the photographer, but honestly, credit the photographer when you can. The least we can do is spread their name around. Okay, going back to what I was saying, I was searching around on Unsplash, and I was searching beaches for some reason, but I saw these awesome top-down aerial views of the shore, and for some reason they just reminded me of the kind of the lines on a planet. So I brought it into Photoshop real quick and quickly masked it into a circle, and all of a sudden it looked like a planet. So I just decided to keep going with it and see where the entire project would go, and see if I could challenge myself to see if I can make a whole space scene out of just using these photos from Unsplash. So I'm going to share that project with you, teach you how to do it, and just follow along. All right, let's start things off here in Photoshop. Let's get our file set up. I'm gonna call this new project desktop wallpaper. And then the dimensions really depend on the size of your screen, so there's lots of different wallpaper sizes. I'm just going to go with 2560 by 1440. That seems to best fit what I have going on here, and it'll be large enough that it should look good on yours as well. And then there's a 300 resolution, what I have it set at. Sometimes it'll set it to 72, and I'm working in pixels automatically, so I upped that. And then RGB color, and then hit create. The first thing I'm going to do here is just lay out my basic scene with some shapes and colors. All right, so this is our super rough composition. It's really just to see size relationship, figure out where things are located in here so we know what kind of images to download, but it'll just save us a whole lot of time. Now, the first thing I want to tackle is this big red planet here in the middle, mainly because it's the focus, but also it's what started this whole thing. The main photo that I found when I was looking for textures is going to live right in here. So I'm going to open up my photo file full of photos that I downloaded from Unsplash, and let's open up this first one right here, this beach photo. For all the different photos that I'm going to be downloading, there's going to be one thing that I do to every single one of them, and that is to convert them all to black and white. So the way I do that first is just go to Image, down to Mode, and then hit Grayscale. And the reason I do that, there's actually multiple different reasons, but and you'll see as I'm working through this. But the main one is that I want to see the contrast. I don't want all those different colors. I want to be able to change those colors in my my space scene on my own. And this way I can have the ability to take out blacks or whites and have some transparent backgrounds to kind of overlay these and do some fun things with as textures. And you'll see, like I said, you'll see that. But I'm going to double click on background, make sure that that's turned off so that the lock's turned off. That way I can manipulate this one. And for this, what the cool thing about this is that you can drop in, if I go over here to my adjustments, I can do all sorts of things to this texture. And the more extreme I go either direction, you'll see that there's different types of textures that show up. It turns into a whole new texture, which is really neat. So you can find one photo and manipulate it in a million different ways and get a million different textures, which is really neat. So I'm going to kind of play around with this one a little bit. I want to get the right amount of textures here for what I want to make this look kind of planet-like. I don't know if I want those super dark. Let's do that. I kind of like I don't want this to get lost right up in here. I might bring a little bit more dark in, a little bit black. Okay. There we go. So now I have some really defined layers here that I'm liking. And then I'm going to go ahead and just, for this purpose, I'm just going to Command E and just join the two. If you want to continue working with that, don't do that. Don't merge them, just create a different one. So I'm going to actually pull this tab out, and I'm just going to click on this layer and just drag it into my scene over here. And it's going to be huge, so I'm going to have to scale that down a bit. Now it's right over top. If it's not, if you this came in and it's up here, make sure you bring it right over top of your circle layer, the layer that you want to put this in. And then I'm just going to hold Alt or Option as I hover in between these two layers, and it will make a mask out of the bottom layer. So that circle, everything, this image is now living within it. It's not cut. It's just living within that circle. And yeah, it already looks kind of neat. I don't want it to look like the beach scene, so maybe I'll just enlarge it a little bit so it looks even less. And I mean, you can. The cool thing about this is you can just stretch it all you want. You can really do whatever you want on this. Cool. Okay, so I think I'm going to do that. The one thing I've noticed that when I'm doing anything with like horizontal lines, especially with the sphere, I want it to look spherical. Then the one thing you can go in and do is you can go to your filter. Make sure you're on your texture layer. Go to filter and go to liquify. And you do have the option to do. There's all these little options over here, like you can pull and stretch and do whatever you want here. Or pucker or whatever there, but this bloat tool is actually pretty handy. You can increase the density so it'll be more extreme. But if you just kind of click right here in the center, you'll notice that it kind of bubbles up, and that might be what you want. So it looks like there's a little slight arc to that horizontal image, and so that it feels more like it's fitting within this sphere. That's just one thing I do. I mean, it really doesn't matter. I don't think we're going to add some shading and highlights on here, so it'll look pretty convincing either way. But now that it's on top of there, we need to work with the blending modes, which are right here. And it's a lighter color, so I'm going to work with the light ones right here just to kind of absorb the color underneath. I could multiply and do some things there which are really cool looking, but I think for what I'm doing, I want to do something like screen. Now we just got to do the exact same thing for the moon. So let's go find the photo for the moon. And I was actually looking for this, and I ran across some concrete textures, and this one just screamed moon to me. Check this out. Look, you already got all the little variations and colors, little blotches. They're not very obvious now, but you can kind of, at least you can start seeing right here, it looks like it's built up, that could be like craters and little mountains or ridges, whatever on the moon. This is going to be perfect. So again, we're going to double click, unlock that background, and go convert to grayscale. And then we're going to play around with those levels again so we can start seeing different textures show up. Start adding some more black in there, and check that out. Those little blotches are getting a little more pronounced. Maybe add a little bit. I want to add a little bit more there. Perfect. Cool, I think this will work. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this down again. I'm going to merge those two, Command E, and drag those into here. Now, again, it's going to be huge, which is good because this is our desktop background. I'm going to bring it over here to our moon. And now that it's right over top of the moon, I can, again, Alt or Option hover between the two and then turn that right into a clipping mask. And let's see if the size here, I might want to adjust this just a little bit. But then you can move this around and kind of figure out what looks most like the surface of a moon. That feels... It's hard because I don't want all that dark on there. Okay, and I'm going to flip this because I think I'm going to have the light coming from here just because I already have so much there. On this guy is already so bright on that side. So I'm going to help myself out and just have the darker textures on this side. Cool. Okay. Now, tell me that doesn't already look kind of like a moon. I mean, they're obviously very flat, and we'll fix all this. But there you go. And so now we have both of our planets, and let's actually go and work on these planets first. Now that we have these awesome textures in these circles, we need to make them actually look like spheres and planets. So what we can do is add some shading here on the bottom side here, because we want that sun to come from the top left, so it'll brighten up this side. So we'll add some shading, some highlights, and that's pretty straightforward. Now I'm not going to use any brushes that you don't have, so the brush I'm just going to use is just your standard soft round, which everybody has. And you can adjust the size, you can adjust the flow, and you can do everything you need to right there. But up top, I'm going to go ahead and add another layer on top of this, hitting Alt or Option when I'm hovering between the two. You can stack as many layers on top of that original clipping mask to fit it within there. Just realize that they are going to be layered this way. So if it's on top, it's going to show up above this texture, which I want. So I'm going to bring in black, maybe start with a larger brush. Now I'm okay if it goes completely black because I can lower the opacity. So that's completely fine. Let's do this. Try to get that as spherical as possible. Okay, now I'm going to take this, lower it just a little bit, so you can still see a bunch of that texture. And then I'm just going to add another layer on top of that for the darker shadows. And I'm just going to kind of build up those shadows so that they're not completely destroying my shape underneath. I want to be able to see that planet, but also I want to be able to mess with it as I go along. So then I can just go ahead and I can take that down a little bit. And it's okay if it's completely disappearing at the bottom, because again, I'm gonna add some more kind of stuff in the back, like a Milky Way type thing in the back. So you should be able to, this should pop off a little bit more. And then we'll add a highlight on the top. Same thing, but I'm just gonna do it with white. And lower that opacity. Let's do that a little bit. Okay. But I can go and layer that again if I want to add a little bit, make it a little bit brighter on there. The other thing you can do too, let's make that a little bit bigger. The other thing you can do too is just do right over here, your dodge tool. So if I turn these off and I just went onto my original texture, I can hit dodge and it will take out that. Oh, I'm still actually painting. Sounded right? Let's do it. So now I'm on dodge, and that'll just kind of take out that color for you. It'll just make it kind of blown out and overexposed, which will also give you that highlight. But I don't like to add that to my actual texture, so I like to layer that up if I can. Oh, I'm excited. These are starting to look a whole lot more like planets. Now, the one thing we're missing here, and it's still looking a little flat, is right here on the edges, we need to make these feel a little bit softer. Now, there's a few different ways we can do this. I know there's the outer glow option, so we could kind of copy paste our shape for the moon or the planet and make it work that way. I prefer to do it by hand. That's completely up to you how you want to do this. But I'm just going to draw, just take my white, keep that same brush that I have going, that soft round brush, and I'm going to lightly draw, just not where the shadows are. So I'm going to try to taper it off where the shadows go and get a little bit stronger as it gets closer to the part that's facing the sun. And this is just going right underneath that main shape layer. I'm not doing this on top of it. And I'll go all the way around. Let's do this. Oops, getting a little. See, one problem is it's a little finicky. It won't be perfect. So if you want to go the outer glow route, by all means do that. Sometimes I just like to have the control of using my stylus. So I'm going to do this on the moon as well, and then I'm going to add even a little bit, maybe even more of a highlight here. Just a little bit of a almost like a little lens flare type of thing that's going to happen on the top of these. I can already see a few things that I want to change here with the moon and the planet, but I don't want to do any of that until I drop in my background. And I'm thinking a galaxy background would look nice. So for that, maybe smoke. And the smoke, actually I do have a photo of smoke that I thought would work. We'll check it out right now. I don't know if it's smoke or flames or both, but we'll do the same thing that we've been doing. Unlock that layer, grayscale it. The one thing I want to do here is make sure that I can see that smoke because I'm going to remove the black background. I want this to be transparent so that I can only change the color of the smoke in our actual artwork. So I'm going to up the whites here because I really want to make sure I can see them, the smoke. And then I'm going to go to, well, actually first, make sure that you merge these layers with Command E. And I'm going to go to Select and Load Selection. This background gray option only pops up if you're working in grayscale, so make sure you're doing that and then click OK. Right now it's highlighting just the whites and it looks kind of funky. Don't worry about that. It'll sort itself out. To do the inverse of that is Command Shift I. And then it'll just select the blacks and I'll hit delete. Command D to deselect and there go my blacks. Which is perfect for what we're going to do here. I'm going to go ahead and drag this. And you can see already how this can kind of feel like a little galaxy. Yeah, I think that'll look really nice. Now you can go in here and delete some of this stuff or erase whatever you want. I think this actually looks pretty nice for what I want it to do. So check this out. Now this is just the white, meaning I can go on here and lock this layer and I can change the color however I'd like. So I can hit, now that it's locked, I have the pixel lock on right here. I can just go to Option Delete, and now I can fill in that smoke area with whatever color I'd like. And even better, now that I'm going to keep this brush that I have going, the soft round, I can go ahead and just kind of paint in my own color variation here within the clouds. You know, I can make it a little bit darker over here. Maybe in the middle I want to really pop. I really want it to maybe a little bit more white. We'll figure out a way to do that. There we go. I want this to really kind of shine in the middle of this. Oh, that feels galaxy-ish, I think. And if you need to, you can lower that opacity still. It might be too bright. There we go. That looks a little better. To really make this background come together, I need to add some stars and some space dust. I think that's what you call it. It just looks like dust particles everywhere to make stars and other stuff in the galaxy. And to really make this all come together, I need to add some stars and space dust. That's what they call it, right? Space dust. It looks like just flecks of dust all over a film, and I think that's what we need to look for in the back. So I actually found this really cool photo that I think will be a really good fit for this. I honestly haven't tried this one out yet, but it looks right. So you can tell it already has these little specks. It just looks like a little picture. I'm not sure if that, oh, that looks like it was part of the, I don't know what that is. Is that stuff in the sky? Pollen? I have no idea what that is, but we want it. That's all I know. So I'm gonna get rid of that stuff out there. I don't need any of that. We just want the specks because these are going to be our stars. Go ahead and double click that. Grayscale. Okay. We want just the little white specks. Gonna load selection. Get rid of that black. And it looks like we deleted everything. We didn't. Whoa. Oh, I was like, man, what happened to those? They were way too crazy. So we can make these smaller and we can start placing these all around. Let's see how that looks. Okay. Space dust. See, I told you. It's little speckles. Oops. I don't know what I keep doing here. Now I'm just going to hold Option. I'm just going to take the same thing. And if you want to just like repeat it without it making it look too weird, just rotate it a few times and it'll look a lot better because it won't look exactly the same. And then you can play with scale. So I'm going to do some out here. But maybe I'm going to enlarge those a little. It's getting really speckled with stars now. Okay, cool. Now if you want to, like I was saying, so I'm actually gonna merge all of those layers together because I don't need that many sets of stars. That works out really well. And you can do this with a lot of different textures. It'll bring up the same effect. But I'm gonna bring back, oops, that's our old one. Let's get rid of that. I don't want to save that. Okay, I'm gonna go back. So I've been playing with the levels here. I can go back and adjust if I want there to be more stars, less stars. And I can play around with this same exact texture just over and over again until I get the right. So maybe I want really minimal stars this time, or little specks of dust. I'll do it all over again, and then you'll see what I'm gonna do here. Then I'll just actually just put these as a larger size. So then you have some bigger dust as well. Oh, well those are so faint. Maybe I'll really enlarge these ones. So the chunks are really big. There we go. Let's see what that looks like. Look kind of weird? No? Okay. I like that. So it's starting to feel like a little galaxy now. And then if you want to go in afterwards, you can just add in a few. Another way you can do this is add in layers and then just have some be more, like lower the opacity on a few of them. But then I like to just go through and I'll just add a few stars of my own here and there for those bigger. This little brush is perfect for everything we're doing in this, as you can see. So then I'll change the size of it, do a few more, just so you have a few perfect ones in there. That makes it really come together. Hard part is just making it look random. Oops, that didn't look very random. Now that our background's coming together, I think we should add one more photo. And this might be overkill, and we'll find out very quickly. I actually don't need to do anything to this one because I want to keep the colors. Let's see how this works. We're going to use blending modes to make this interact with our background here. And see if it's a terrible idea. We'll find out very, very quickly. Okay, we're going to do this right over top of our main background color. Let's see. Let's go right into our blending modes. I'm going to go to, I think, just lighten. And then I'm going to lower the opacity. Whoa! Starting to feel like a weird dream, or is it actually looking like space? I think it kind of looks like space. Maybe that's too much. Okay, I'm going too far. It's like adding a crazy lens flare on something. You got to tone it down. Okay, so I'm going to tone this down a little bit, but the way I'm going to do it is it's not going to let you do anything with it until you just use your brush tool and click on it and rasterize it. And then I'm going to use my eraser tool, and I'm going to kind of erase around here because I like some of this darkness. I feel like it needs that, and it feels like there's too much going on right here. Maybe a little bit less, right? Yeah, I feel like there's a little bit too much going on. But there, I feel like that that kind of gave it an extra level of cool, right? Space, that feels spacey. Yeah, I like that little addition. It kind of pulls everything in there. Now that the background's looking so cool, I can totally see where it's lacking on this planet. So now we're going to go into that planet itself and add some colors. And we're just going to do that here with the same brush, your little standard brush. I'm going to add another layer, and then I'm going to, oops, take that back. There you go. Add that layer in there. And I'm going to try to get rid of some of these for a second and pull this original color just because I want to work with it. But I'm going to start going a little bit more. Maybe I'm going to go more of the hot pink route. And let's see what this does. Huh, it's not showing through as much as I'd like it to. Oh, that purple's kind of looking cool. It's kind of a fun little look. But the problem is I don't see enough of my image here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the text, the original texture here, and I'm going to go and let's maybe burn this a little bit so that'll saturate it a little bit more. There we go. I wasn't seeing enough of that texture in there, and it wasn't feeling much like a fun planet. It's feeling a little drab. So okay, that looks a whole lot better. And then we're just going to add like a. Now we can go back to that and play around with maybe the colors that we have in the background. Maybe a little bit of that, a little bit of blue, a hit of blue. It's going to be a whole lot of red too, some pinks. Oh, that's taken away a little bit. I like that punch of that color. And it's really just me just messing around, so I won't try not to play around with this too much. But I do love. Okay, yeah, maybe a little bit more out of the pink. There we go. It's a little bit more of a red planet now. Cool. I like that. I like that. Definitely that pops a lot better. I'm still, this might be a little heavy. A little heavy maybe. So I'm going to go back and start tweaking different things here. No, I think that's okay. Another thing you can do is go in and add another layer of your shading, but do it with a color like a purple or something like that, and that kind of, you'll see how. Let's try that out because that might look a little nicer. Actually, I'm not sure why I'm using my mouse here. I'm going to use my stylus. Be a little bit easier to control. Okay, now that I have that purple, I'm going to I can multiply that so it blends in better, and then I'm going to just up the. There you go. That way it feels a little more natural. It feels like it's blending in with the colors of my planet a little bit and not just forcing a color onto it with that black. And I'll kind of go the more purple route up there. That looks kind of cool. Maybe I'll do a little purple and then a little bit of blue, huh? My gosh, if I don't stop playing with this, it's going to get bad. Okay, ooh, that looks cool. Okay, done with that one, and then I'll do the same thing over here with the moon. For the final touches, we're going to do some spiral galaxies and a comet over here. So let's start with the spiral galaxies first, which I thought of a solution for this, and I just started searching spiral type photography, whether there were staircases or looking through things. I think this one is looking through an engine, part of an engine. I have no idea what this is, but it's a pretty cool looking photo, and I think I can make this work, but I'm gonna have to tweak it a little bit more than the other photos. Now I'm going to make sure it's grayscale. So even if it's black and white, it doesn't mean it's grayscale. You have to actually change that yourself. I'm going to go in and I think I'm going to blur this. I'm going to put a little Gaussian blur under my filter. Go down to blur. Do a Gaussian blur. Because I don't want all that detail in there. There we go. Yeah, I don't want that detail in there. And then what I'm going to do is now do the select. Actually, wait, do I need to do maybe some levels? I don't want to get too much of that. I really want to. There we go. That looks a whole lot better. What do you say, like that? That looks good. Now I'm going to go ahead and merge these, and I'm going to select and load selection, take out that background. I want the black gone. So now I just have that swirl. And then I'm going to, yeah, you know what? We'll just do it from here. Let's take that swirl, bring it into our image. Whoa, this may or may not work. We'll see. And then I'm going to go and hold shift so that I can scrunch this down. Turn that sucker right into a galaxy. How about that? This is where we wanted to put him. Trying to match him up with what we already got going on here. And there we have it. So I'm gonna get rid of this guy right here. And now that guy kind of looks like a galaxy. I would be convinced that someone drew that just for the purpose of it being a galaxy. So this is coming from an illustrator. So okay, let's do that. I think that'll look good. And then the nice part about this again is if we lock the transparent pixels or the pixels, lock the pixels. All the other transparent ones we're not gonna be able to mess with, or the pixels you can't see on this layer. And then we'll go ahead and start painting in it a little bit. I think that'll be good. I think we'll add maybe the blues to it or something. Is that too close? I keep zooming in. Maybe we'll add the blues. It's already starting to kind of fit in here. Maybe go some more purples over here so it doesn't stand out a whole lot. And then I'm going to add some white on top of this. Yeah, just on top. I don't need to do anything else. I'm still using my fuzzy brush. I'm going to just kind of color in there so you can see that part light up. Kind of see the center a little bit brighter than the rest of it. Okay, that's probably a little too much, so I'll knock that back a little bit. And then if I'm going to draw straight onto that layer, I might want to add I feel like you kind of see a little bit more of that white kind of travels out into some of those spirals. And last but not least, we're going to add that little comet friend right in the top right corner. I deleted him already because I know where he's going to go. But I think this guy will be the perfect photo for it. It seems like cheating because it's a firework and already looks like one. But it's not as easy as it looks because it's kind of choppy and it's not going to be perfect. But if we said this was cheating, then all of what we've done today has been cheating. Shortcutting, that's what we've been doing. Okay, so I'm going to double tap on that. Knock that out. Let's go to mode grayscale. And then I'm going to, we could probably play the channels a little bit, or the levels a little bit. Make that a little bit brighter. Okay. Merge those. Take out the background. Oops, we're going to flip that to inverse, knock that out. Okay, and move that here. And we're going to take our little comet and we'll put him in here. Now he's going to be far enough away that I'm not too worried about him looking kind of pixely. We're going to put him pretty far off. We're going to edit him a little bit so that he fits in a little bit better. But let's just go ahead and take out this thing right here. We'll zoom in. We'll kind of give it more of a defined tail, and then we can stretch that out as we go. If we want, we can stretch that out as we want. There you go. And then I'll just take a portion of that, and we'll just stretch that part right there. Okay. There we go. Now it's gonna be okay. It's not gonna look perfect, but we're gonna clean this up. There's still gonna be little artifacts that are hanging out around it that we gotta delete. But then we can go on here and let's see. What are these? What are all these? Oh, this is for the. I put this in my. Okay, I put that in my galaxy. We're gonna take that out of here. There we are. I had that in the wrong layer there. I had that in my galaxy. I was trying to figure out where that went. Okay, so now we're going to take this. I'm going to lower the opacity just a little bit. Or actually, I can do that on my own. I'm going to just highlight that. And then I'm going to make this get kind of a bluish tail. Kind of go bluish over here. And I can lower the flow on my brush so it doesn't erase as much. Put that back. And then I'm gonna go back and go a little bit more blue. There we go. It feels like it's tracing across the sky a little bit. And we can knock that back. There we go. That feels about right. We can maybe make them a little bit bigger. Put that off to the side. And I think we are finished. I think this is it. I think we got the whole galaxy done, and we did it with just 7 unsplash images. And there you have it, an epic outer space desktop wallpaper made completely out of photos from Unsplash. So thank you guys so much for following around on this. Really, it was just a big experiment, and I'm glad you guys stuck around. And hopefully you guys get a chance to do this yourself and play around with some of those photos. I'm curious to see what you guys come up with. If you have any other ideas for future experiments or challenges, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys, and as always, like, subscribe, and we will see you next time.